Okay, so before we start, I would love to know how many of you absolutely beginners in Python here. Can you type here in the chat? Just type B if you're a beginner, or if you are already have some experience, just type E. Okay, so experience. Okay. So seems everyone beginners here, like no one having experience. If you have experience, just type E. Okay. So let me share my screen now. So I hope my screen is visible now. Can you confirm here in the chart? Yep. Thanks for. Okay, so let's start then. So we'll see first some of the basic thing we'll understand here. Okay. So I hope you know. So this is a demo session. Okay, so we are conducting the demo Python, why Python is actually the important in the current software industry, right? So we will discuss that maybe 40 minutes or 45 minutes. What I'm going to cover in this complete training, and then how many days duration, and the timings, everything we will discuss. And we'll have a discussion after the, my presentation completed. So who am I? See, first let's introduce myself. I'm Babu. I'm a senior DevOps and automation expert, I can say. So I have 13 years of experience in software industry, and especially this DevOps and automation more than 10 years. I'm expert in Python and all automation scripting like shell scripting, PowerShell, Groovy. Okay, so and also some of the tools we can say like Terraform, Kubernetes, Ansible, since I'm from DevOps and good in cloud. And you can see I do have a training experience more than 13 years. I have conducted almost 150 plus corporate trainings, more than that. And then also there are a number of, workshops we conducted. So especially on Python and Linux shell scripting, and then DevOps. So I'm also doing a doctorate in, Gen AI now. So I hope you guys knows like for AI, Python is more important. So since I'm from Python background, so it is easy for me to upgrade this Gen AI. So I'm founder of ScriptingSchool. Okay, so as I told, I'm a senior DevOps and automation expert. So why learn Python? So what is actually the importance here? If you see any platform in the real time, the current IT industry, so you name it like artificial intelligence and web application development, or we can say even the web scraping, DevOps and data science, or cyber security, or blockchain, or Internet of Things, everywhere Python is there. So for example, if you want to start career in artificial intelligence, or let's say, for example, if you want to become some data engineering or some other platform like DevOps, nowadays everyone is expecting Python. So which means Python, it's not just for web development, it is everywhere, right? It is everywhere. So that is the reason nowadays, like in every job description, the expectation Python skill is mandatory, or simply people are expecting one scripting language skill is mandatory, Python or shell scripting, Python or Groovy Python or some other language like that. But Python is common everywhere, right? So this is high demand, high paying job opportunities. So as you know, like top companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, everyone using this. And for us, like it is easy to learn and implement. If you compare with any other programming languages, Python is very simple. It's like English language. So we will see that the difference also with examples today so that you will get idea. Okay, so here it is very simple language and the syntaxes are simple. Comparing with Java or C++, you can write with less code and then whatever you are doing with, okay, someone is disturbing. Okay. So whatever you are writing, let's say, for example, if you write a code in C++ or Java, 15 lines code, then you can complete here maybe 4 lines. That is possible. And it's a beginner friendly, right? I hope you understood why learn Python here, right? So let's see where exactly the people are using. So you can see this automation and scripting. Don't think that Python is only for, automation. Python is everywhere, but in the real time, as I told, in every platform people are using. Let's say, for example, if you are working as a Linux administrator, and if you want to automate whatever you are doing daily, means I don't want to do something manually. Let's say I don't want to run every day, some commands. I want to automate that instead of running the command daily. Then you can actually write the Python code and you can automate it. So which means it is not test automation. Try to understand. Whatever we are doing manually, we are just writing that. We are keeping that all the commands maybe in one file, and then we just add some Python syntaxes and then we execute it. So instead of running the commands manually, we are doing automation. So we will learn that all the automation things in our training. But don't think that everywhere only for automation. So it is there for web development. So we have three types of, we can say, like we can say like 3 types we can use here Python, like Python for automation, one thing, and Python generally we use as a programming for development, and full stack we can say. So that is a full stack development. For full stack development, again, you need the front end like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then Bootstrap, and then also tools like we use Django, Flask, Pyramid. There are different tools, MVC tools we call it as. So Python is base for this automation. Also, if you want to go with web development, using with some of the tools like Django, Flask, Pyramid, you can work with that. And as I told, like data science and AI, so we have a popular libraries, we can say, Pandas, we have Matplotlib, NumPy, TensorFlow, there are a number of models like that. And DevOps and cloud computing. So especially like if you want to automate AWS, I don't want to log in every day my AWS console. I want to automate that using with Python. Of course, we have a Terraform, but assume you are not using Terraform, but I want to write some code and then I want to automate that. Let's say I want to start some EC2 instance. I want to stop some EC2 instance. I'm giving very basic level example. You can use some module called Boto3. So Boto3 is a SDK for AWS. You can simply install that module and then we can write the code. So within a 5 lines of code, you can create a new EC2 instance. You don't need to connect, you don't need to open the console. We will see this type of practical examples in our training, okay, how to automate AWS. And you can see cyber security and ethical hacking and even game development and IoT, it is there. So recently, like the students also, they started Python in the school level itself for game development and app development. And so which means Python is everywhere. Don't think that this is only for one specific, automation or one specific development. It is there in every platform. We can say that. And also, if you see the high demand job market, like for example, if you search for Python jobs, either in LinkedIn or Naukri or whatever, like people are attending from different countries now, right here. So whatever the job portals, if you search, there are different job roles like Python developer, DevOps engineer, data science, cloud engineer, AI engineer. There are n number. I just here mentioned some of the job roles. So which means Python is mandatory for all the job roles, right? Now, if you observe here, Python actually having largest community, we can say. So python.org, this is the one actually. Okay, so python.org is the official community for Python. So if you see, this is the official community. And we'll understand that how to download, how to install everything. But this is the official community for Python. So everything we can see here itself, like for example, events. So there are a lot of communities, as I told, like, so community events, you can see Python event. For example, this weekend, if anyone from Hyderabad, this weekend in Hyderabad T-Hub, there is a Python workshop. So you can see the events, actually upcoming events here in every country. What are the major events actually running? So here you can see the details on that. And if you observe here the events and user group events, and then there are different sources we'll get here. And then also community support we will get here, right? And documentation, you can see everything, it is there. Documentation also, it is there here. So if you have a really dedication, you don't need actually like this training also. You can learn from yourself like by own, but only thing is dedication is required and consistency is required. Otherwise, it is difficult, right? So if you have a one trainer, and then it will be easy. So that's what here we are, okay? So and see the downloads, there are different versions. We will discuss this, all the things in the session 1. It's a just demo, I'm just giving high level. So there are different versions we have. And we'll understand that how we can write using with the Windows operating system, using with the Linux operating system. If anyone aware of Linux, we will discuss that how we can use Linux and Windows, these all things, okay? But just this is the official community, but we do have a lot of Python distributions. So what is Python distribution? So Python is an open source, okay? See this, Python is open source. Open source means what? Open source means the source code is open. The source code is open. Based on the source code, there are n number of people, they introduced their own product. So that is generally we call it as a distributions here. So since it's an open source, there are n number of distributions we have. So we can see one is Active Python, Anaconda, Chinese Python, like that. There are different distributions. You may think, okay, why these many distributions here? See, python.org is the official community. As I told, this is an open source community. We can download from here and we can use that. Of course, you can use this. It's like we can say free community. We can download and install without paying anything. But there are like a lot of commercial versions as well. So commercial versions means what? Commercial generally, we pay them. Like it's a licensed version. So in real time, we use only licensed versions. Why licensed versions? Because more security, and also like if you face some issues, maybe in interpreter level, we can raise it some ticket and then we'll get a solution from the company. So we'll discuss this, okay. But if you see, there are a lot of Python distributions. For example, let's say you want to go, like you want to start your career as a data science and or artificial intelligence. So we suggest install Anaconda. So why Anaconda again? So you may think like these are snake names, Python and Anaconda, right? So these are actually not a snake name. So we will discuss. See, Python actually it's a programming language name, right? The name it came from Monty Python's Flying Circus. So actually, Python introduced by Gudovan Rosam. So he actually favor of there is a, so we can say there was one famous TV show. So that's actually like Monty Python's Flying Circus. Based on that TV show, he introduced the name. It's not a snake name, okay. But of course, there are a lot of communities. Since it's an open source community, the logos and all you can see like a snake. That is a different story. Okay. So Anaconda, if you install, we will get all the modules related to the data science. Let's say, for example, Pandas or Matplotlib, NumPy. These all modules, it will give like a package. So that is the reason in real time, people generally will go with what specific distribution. See, now I'll just show you here. If you go down, you can see it is clearly saying that, okay, it is clearly saying that if you install from here, you will get these many things. Jupyter Notebook you'll get, SciPy will get, Spider, NumPy, and then you can see number. There are different, right? So TensorFlow, there are different modules we can say. So these are libraries we'll get by default. But my recommendation in our training, we go with python.org. If you download from here, what is the advantage? So whatever the module you need, like whatever the library if you want to install, we will understand that how to install and how to use. So you may think what is library, what is module? Okay, if you are not aware of Python, but don't worry, we will discuss each and everything in the coming sessions. Okay. So simple, it's a module is nothing, but it's like already written some Python file, we can say. So why that is required? I don't want to write again and again, or I don't want to write, the code. Let's say, for example, if I want to communicate database, just it says that use this particular library and then connect it. I want to automate AWS, just it says, okay, use this library and then you can automate. So that is how there are n number of libraries available. If you see there is a repository. So pypi.org is a repository. So this repository, it contains all the Python libraries. So how many libraries? Each file is one file. You can see this, right? This many libraries available. So this is a repository. Whatever the modules, as I told as of now. So those modules we are going to download from this repository. And you may think, okay, download again. Let's say, for example, as I told, Boto3 for AWS. So for Boto3, again, there are different versions. See, this many versions available in the repository. But now, I don't want to download directly from here, right? Means I don't want to go here and then download it. And then what is the way to download? It is very simple. You can simply use here with one command. Let's say, for example, if you see here, I'm going to use just one command in the command prompt. So just open the CMD and we just type pip install Boto 3. That's it. So this is the module, or this is the package, or this is the library I want to install, but where this library is available, the library is available in the repository called pypi.org. But you don't need to open that. You can simply execute this command, no matter you are using Windows operating system or Mac or Linux. The command is simple: pip install, then package name. So it will try to install. But if you are trying it, okay, assume that you are trying to execute now. What is actually required to execute this command? Pip is required. So when we will get the pip? If you install Python. So which means if you have a Python installed already, then you can use this. Very simple way. So now see, I have installed this. And then if I go to the Python interactive mode, just type Python like this. And then if I use import Boto3, it will import here. So this is how we simply install the module. See how much time it actually took for us. It's almost 30 seconds time to install the module. Whatever the module, whatever the platform, if you want to work with that, we just search that module and then we install with this command. It just takes seconds. Now, if you have this module, and then we can now start writing maybe 5-6 lines of code just to start EC2 instance. So that is how the Python. So comparing with any other languages, Python is very simple and it is more powerful and it is there everywhere. So simply we can say that. So if you want to become a Python developer, yes, it is possible. If you want to become like Python expert with automation, if you are already working with some specific platform, yes, it is possible again, right? Just a minute. Okay, now let's go back here. So this is what we understood: large community and open source support we have. And as I told, like automation, data science, and AI, so you can see there are different libraries, right? For automation means, again, if you want to go with something Selenium test automation, what are the libraries we use? Data science, and then AI and machine learning, web development, we are using Django, Flask. It's like MVT tools, model view controller, MVC, model view template, MVT. So if you're from programming background, you may get that idea like what is MVC, MVT. Okay, so this is why learn Python. And then what is Python? So Python is high level language. It's an interpreter based programming language, we can say. So it's a high level language, right? So this is a high level language, which means we write in, generally, simply we can say we write in English or whatever language. English we generally use to write, right? For example, I want to print something, print hello world. That's it. So it's a human understandable language that is high level. And it's interpreter based. What is interpreter? We will discuss. There are interpreter based languages and compiler based languages. So we think, okay, what is this compiler and interpreter? Let's say, for example, okay, I'll show you here. If you want to communicate, let's say, for example, there are two people here. Okay. So there are two people. So here the first person name, for example, Ram, and the second person name Sita. I'm just taking like this. Now assume Ram only can speak English, okay? He knows only English. And Sita knows only Spanish or maybe Hindi, Spanish, okay? But these two people need to communicate now. So the problem is here, see, of course, the latest trending technology, AI now, maybe very soon by this year, and like if you open YouTube, let's say you open something, Telugu YouTube, some video, and then assume that if you want to watch that in English, simply there are translators now. You can select that immediately, the Telugu automatically it will convert into the specific language. That is AI models now, like a backend using Python. It's working like that. There are a lot of LLM models developed like that. Okay. Now assume here Ram want to speak with Sita, but he knows only English, and then Sita understands only Spanish. But how these two people can communicate now? So one translator required here who knows both English and Spanish. For example, assume there is a third person here, Siri. So Siri knows both like English and Spanish. That means whenever Ram is speaking in English, Siri will translate to Sita in Spanish, and whenever Sita speaking in English, sorry, Spanish, and then again Siri will translate to Ram in English. So means there is a translator to communicate between these two people. Then only the communication is happening here, right? The similar way, whenever if you write any Python program, so we write like this, print something hello world. That's it, to print one hello world program, right? Hello world output, if you want, just we write like this. But in programming languages, minimum 5-6 lines code required. Something C language, header file is required, right? Hash include stdio.h. stdio.h means it's a header file, and then int main function. And then we write printf hello world, right? 3-4 lines code required minimum, because if you want to write hello world, you need to know what is that header file, what is that main function, multiple things. Similar thing in Java as well. In Java, again, class statement is mandatory, class is required. Okay, but in Python, it's just one line. But assume I have 5 lines of code like this, and it's a high-level programming. It's English. As a human, you can understand this. So this is simply, we can say, human language. Python, it's a human readable language. We have a script or we have a program. But how our computer it understands, right? Because computer or system or operating system, it understands only zeros and ones. It is not understanding our English. So means it's not understanding the human language. So the system is having their own language. That is actually, simply we can say, binary or machine level language. So similar thing here, right? So Ram knows English and Sita knows Spanish, but there is a translator, Siri. Similar way, here also, whenever if you write any program, how this computer is understanding that translator is required, that we call it as a compiler or interpreter. So compiler or interpreter. But why these two, we will discuss later, okay? So what this compiler is doing, it will check all the syntaxes, whatever we have the code. And if there is no syntax error, then immediately it will convert into system understandable language. And then from there it will execute. So let's say if it is a programming language, it generates something .exe file or .class file. But Python, it will not generate any .exe .class, but internally it generates .class file, and then from there it will start execution. But I hope you understood that what is compiler very basic level, right? So practically we will see that later. But here just this is like a one communicator between the programming language and system. It is trying to translate this high level programming or human understandable code into system understandable code, right? So that is the reason here, if you see, this is a interpreter programming language. Of course, it is easy to read and write. So as I told just now, so it is very famous, very much famous for web development and AI and many more technologies. So as I already told that Gudevan Rosam introduced in 1991, the year. So I told Python name, it actually came from Monty Python's Flying Circus. And it's a dynamically typed and supports multiple programming paradigms. So see, if you define some variable, in programming languages, data types must. So if you want to write some variable, like we need to write like this, int a equal to 10. This is how we define in programming language. But in Python, you can write directly a equal to 10. This is a dynamic data type, we can say. Most of the things, comparing with programming, here it is very easy to write the code, to understand the code as well. If you have some practice, and then it will be very easy to write and then implement. Because data types not required, I'm saying this is a dynamic data type. You don't need to write every time the libraries like how we write in C language, hash include stdio.h in C language, right? And then we write main function. And then we write a printf hello world. So these many lines required to just print one hello world program in C language. But how many lines we are writing in Python? Just we are writing print hello world. What is the difference? See, the difference here, as a programmer in C language, we should know what is this header file, what is the main function, why this semicolon is required for this line, why not for all other lines. There are a lot of confusion initially. And why this curly brackets? Because generally the printf function is available in this header file, input output header file. So we should include this, then only it will understand by the compiler when we execute the code. So printf, what is printf? What is the behavior of this function? It declared in this header file. But how Python is understanding this print? Python is understanding this print because when we execute the code, automatically it is importing one module called built-ins. There is a module name called built-ins. So this is the library. Whenever if you are executing Python code, internally Python itself, it is importing this module. So what this built-ins contains, it's like simply we can say stdio.h, right? The similar style. But what it contains, if you want to see, you can just type dir of built-ins. You'll get idea. See, this many built-in functions already available. What is the function we are using? Print. See, it is there. Which means this all the built-in functions you can directly use in Python while writing the code. You don't need to import this module. The only reason is whenever if you are executing the program, internally Python itself, it is importing this library every time. And it is checking whether that function is available or not in this library. If it is available, what is the behavior of that function? It understands and then it will behave like that. So everything internally, Python is taking care of these all things, right? Okay, so now, as I told, like Python, see, it increases actually your job opportunities. We can say, like, if you If you keep Python skill in your profile, the weightage will be more, we can say. The profile, even if you go with Python, not only Python developer, even if you go with something DevOps or cloud or data analysis, companies prefer candidates with Python knowledge, right? Even non-programming roles. Every platform we can say. So now we can see this some of the job roles here. DevOps engineer, expectation like this. AWS Terraform CI/CD with Python. Cloud engineer again Python. Data scientist Python. Automation engineer Python. Everywhere people are expecting. Now I'm just giving one example. See, let's say I actually took some screenshots from DevOps example. So I searched in DevOps engineer job roles and I got this job description, responsibilities and all. So hands-on development, DevOps and Python. You can see the DevOps engineer experience in shell or Python scripting. You can see DevOps engineer scripting expertise, Python experience. I'm taking one example. Similar way for all other platforms as well, which means Python is mandatory nowadays, right? And it is more popular language. There is a source, you can see the PYPL, popularity of Python programming index. So Python is the, we can say the top sharing now in entire world. It's a first rank. So this screenshot I took long back, but you can see even 2025 also same. So first rank Python only, you can use this link and you can check it. And this many companies are using, right? So if you observe here, like the share also data analysis, 50% of share, like web development, DevOps and system administrators, Python programming for web scraping, machine learning, educational purpose people are using, software testing, anyway. And the crazy thing like ChatGPT, DeepSeek also developed with Python only. So ChatGPT, DeepSeek, these are LLM models we can say, right? So Python is the foundation for AI, for machine learning and LLMs. So you can see top AI frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, 10. These are Python-based frameworks. Okay, now what we are going to cover in our Python training. So actually this is a 45 days program and daily it will be 1 hour. And every day notes and recording session you will get it. Every day recording you will get, okay. And the timings, we are planning 8 a.m. IST to 9 a.m. IST. So the batch, it will start from Monday. So that is 24th Feb. But what we are actually covering, right? So this is the content I'm going to cover. So we will start with the Python core Python first. It's not for DevOps especially, just using this, PDF. So we start with Python basics first, okay? So Python overview, how to install and how to write. I told that, right? See, Python is very simple. See, there are multiple ways you can write Python code. Let's say, for example, if you want to use normal text editor, Notepad or Notepad++, you can use. If you install Python, then you can use normal text editor. Let's say this is a normal text editor, right? Notepad++. Say I'm going to write one Python program. I'm using just save as and then sample1.py. Some code I'm writing sample1.py, any Python like program name can be anything. I'm using sample1, but .py extension is mandatory for Python. We will discuss this. And save as type here, it can be anything, all types you can use and then save. But generally all types, save as type should be all types, then only it will save like a .py extension. What I want to print, I want to print just hello world. See, I'm writing print. I told it's like English language. Print. What I want to print? Hello world I want to print. And print is a function. So that is the reason open and closed parenthesis is mandatory. And we write that the text between a quotes, either single or double quotes. How to run this? So if you want to run this first, see, I'm treating this. This is my workspace here, where I saved this file. Based on that, you can actually write. So you can execute, right? So I have saved this in Python John. That is the location. So Python John I have saved, but otherwise, okay, I'll try to create here in this location now. So I'm creating another file. Just I'm trying to save this file here in the fib folder. Let me create a Python separately, Python 8 AM. And then I'm trying to save the file. Sample.py. And save as type should be all types. And then save. So, okay, so print. What I want to print, hello world I want. Save it. And then go to this path. So where is this path now? So this is the one. Copy this complete path. Anyway, we'll discuss in detail, but I'm just giving one simple example how we can write Python easy way. So this is my code here. And then I want to run here. I'm just using the command prompt. I'm in the same path now. This is workspace, we call it as Python. Then Python is the interpreter name. Then script name is sample.py. Now I can see hello world. But this is using with simply normal text editor. But you can also use any other, IDEs. IDE means integrated development environment. So we use generally Visual Studio Code, or we can use PyCharm. It's a dedicated IDE for Python, or we can use Jupyter Notebook, or you can use, Eclipse, anything. But if you want to write something like programming style or programmer style, then we can use these editors. Or let's say, still assume that you still not installed Python, but we can also use, there are different third party here. Like for example, if you see, there is a Google, I'll show you this. Yeah. So there is a Google Colab. So the Google Colab, you don't need to install Python. You can directly write it. So just if you type here, Google Colab, and then open this and go to new notebook. It will load, and then see, this is something like online. We can directly write like a online terminal, how we use like that. I want to save this file. Maybe you can edit. Let's say I want to write something like a sample. And then here you need to run this connect. It's connecting, and then means this is just not only for Python, we can also use for other languages, but base is for Python. So now I want to write here. So what I want to write, print hello world. Okay. And then just click on this. See, I got output hello world. So without any installation, if you want to run Python, we can use some online terminals, or you can use this Google Colab. And you can also save this file, and then you can even save in GitHub. You can save locally, multiple things we can do. So we'll discuss this one as well. So as I told, you can use normal text editor, or you can use even this Google Colab like this, or you can use even IDEs. But multiple things we will try to understand, because we're not sure, like in real time. For example, assume if you want to just use some editors, you can use it if you are having idea already. Or if you don't want to use, or maybe they suggest that, okay, write in the normal text editor itself, then okay, if you have experience or if you have idea, then you can write directly. That is what here, right? So we'll start with basics first, and then we'll go with first, we'll try to understand the variables, and then we will see the operators one by one. What are the different types of operators available? And control flow like conditional statements. What are the conditional statements available? How to use multiple use cases we will discuss. And loops like while loop, for loop, break and continue statements. And especially the variables, we have a collection types, right? Collections. So we have a list, tuple, dictionaries, set. So what is list? How to use this list methods, tuple methods, dictionary methods, set methods. So we'll see deep dive, not the basic level. Everything it's a practical only, used with the use cases. And there are some built-in functions we will discuss, as I just told, built-in functions available in the built-ins, right? Built-ins is a module. So how to use these built-in functions? And some of the standard libraries like OS, sys, CSV, datetime, time model. There are a number of built-in libraries like this. Now, for example, if you see, I want to use some square root. You don't need to write code for that. If you know the library name or module name, import math. Simply I'm using, if you check dir of math, there is a property called square root. So you can use math.square root of 25. It is giving the result. You don't need to write the code here. Simply, if you know the module name, you just use that module and then you can use the property directly. But only the difficult thing here, how to find out this module. That we can, get while practicing. And if you have more practice, then automatically you'll understand. And also, it's not just like writing the code as it is, like, just like copy pasting like that. You should also know that the best practices while writing the Python code, the standards need to follow. So in our training, we are following that PEP index. So which means if you see there is a style guide for Python, this is the one. So style guide for Python code, we can say this is a PEP. Okay, Python enhancement proposals, we call it as. So if you want to write any syntaxes or any variables or something function declarations, what is the best practice? So we are going to follow these PEP guidelines. Without using this also, you can write the code, but the best practice always important. So we'll follow the best practice. Okay. And then we'll see here functions, how to create our own function and how to use it. How to read the file using with Python, how to write data to the file. And different file operations we'll discuss. And there are some functional programming, lambda expressions, map, filter. And then we have a exception handling like try and except finally. A different exception handling, how to write, how to implement with Python. And then advanced thing like modules. This is the more important if you are working with some platforms. Like for example, if you are a DevOps engineer or if you are working as something data engineering or AI, this is the one we have to concentrate. So we will try to understand how to develop our own module. That is generally custom modules. We will try to understand that. Also, we will see how to identify third-party modules from the repository PyPI. As I told that, if you want to automate something AWS, Boto3 is the SDK package. So how to identify that package name and how to install. The similar way, we will cover multiple things. So if you name it, let's say you are from something cloud and DevOps, we will understand that with the real use cases, how to work with cloud, how to work with the DevOps, especially like Ansible, for example. It's completely written in Python. We'll see the Ansible source code, how it is like, Python. And we will also discuss how Python, it actually helps for DevOps. Some of the use cases we will discuss with some modules like OS module, subprocess module. There are a number of different modules. Similar way, we will also discuss for example, if you are from AI or a data science background, we will discuss like how to use pandas, matplotlib, numpy. And if you are using something web scraping, how to use URL and then how to use request module for API connections. We are going to discuss this all the things, which means it's not for one specific platform. You need Python for everywhere. I'm giving that complete like an engine. So you can develop what vehicle you want, right? So engine is common for every vehicle almost. So this is what I can say. So we are giving the complete Python training, and additionally, like we will touch up with some of the platforms. Like for example, if you want to work with a database, for every database in programming languages, we have something ODBC. For Java, JDBC. That is a driver to communicate the database. But here you don't need to install separately driver. We have a module. If you want to work with MySQL, we can say MySQL.connector. If you want to work with Oracle, CX underscore Python, CX underscore Oracle. So there are different modules like that based on the database. So I'll compare with multiple databases and I'll show you how to write the database queries using with Python, and then we will execute and we will see the result. One database is enough. Any one database if you install, okay. Otherwise, we will create some AWS, free tier account, and then we will try to execute there and we will see this all the scripts. So that is the reason modules main focus, modules more important. We'll concentrate on modules here, how to write our own module, how to use built-in modules, how to work with third-party modules based on the platform. And additionally, we will also cover object-oriented programming. Maybe future, if you want to become a Python programmer, like if you want to learn in the coming days, like MVC tools, like as I told already, Django, Flask, Pyramid, and then object-oriented programming is required. And also the existing modules, if you open some of the libraries like AI libraries and all, maybe if it written in object-oriented programming, if you want to understand that code, we need that skill. So that is the reason we will cover end-to-end object-oriented programming as well. So what is encapsulation? What is inheritance? What are the different types of inheritances available? What is polymorphism, method overloading, method overriding, abstraction, how to hide the data? Everything we will cover here with use cases, with examples, not theory, okay? And then you can see iterators, generators, decorators, some advanced concepts we will discuss. And here, as I told, this content I used for DevOps. So that is the reason I'm just highlighting the DevOps only here. But as I told, we will also cover that. I'll share the content later, the complete content. So the DevOps automation is like this. So some of the modules, OS, subprocess, Globe, Sys module. And if you see Python Cloud Computing, AWS CLI, Boto 3 modules, we'll learn these all things, right? And you can see some of the database for MySQL. MySQL.connector is a module and what we are going to understand. And Ansible thing. And web scraping, working with JSON, Pandas, Matplotlib, REST API related. This is how the content it will be, right? So some of the use cases we will cover every time based on the topic. So I hope it is clear now. So what is the training agenda, like, how many days it takes? I told 45 days. 45 to 50 days also it takes. And then course content we covered. And then also I told that the timings, generally we are planning at this moment 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. IST. Because I do have other batches, other timings, like you can see, like I do have Groovy batch here running at 7 a.m. So this is almost completed batch. So that is the reason actually I'm planning this time, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. IST time. Okay, so this is demo. Now it's open for questions. Let me just unmute. I'll share this recording session to everyone. I'll stop the recording now.